Welcome back to the Birdhouse Dynasty show, and today we're going to do a live recap of a 12-team ESPN draft from last night that I did. And so let's get right into it. We are going to, bring it up right here this way for you guys. Here we are. Okay, so we had the 103 in this league, and this league has actually got 48 teams in it, and so they're 12-team leagues. There's relegation. If you finish in the top three, you get promoted to the division above. Right now, we're in the second division, and so we're trying to just finish top three this year, ideally first or second, but if you finish top three, then you get moved up to, in this case, it would be Division A, and that's the division ultimately you want to be in. So, but again, it's a 12-team. Let me give you the lineup: 12-team, one quarterback, two running back, two wideout, tight end, and a flex, and then kicker defense. And so there's just it's a pretty shallow format, basically. And then you have the ESPN room to deal with as well. So you can see we were picking out of the 103 slot. All right. And to start off with, it went McCaffrey, Tyreek. And so we decided to go CD. Now, this will be interesting as it comes up later. And you see as the picks went through the first round there, nothing too crazy. The top eight were pretty much chalk. And then you had Puka, A.J. Brown, then Jonathan Taylor, and Garrett Wilson went. Nothing too crazy. I mean, JT going at 11, maybe a little high. But then around two, things got wacky. There was Saquon, then Pacheco went at the 202, then Gibbs at the 203. So you had three straight running backs there, generally in an area where you'd see wide receivers going. Then Devontae Adams went at the 204, Kyron at the 205, then ETN at the 206. So running backs were just flying off the board early here. And then you had Mike Evans, Derrick Henry, then Drake London, who usually goes near more so, I don't know, at the beginning of the second round. At least in the underdog drafts he was. But if you've looked at some ESPN sites, you know that their ADP is a little wacky. So anyway, it came to us here at the 210, and we really wanted Achane, but with his ADP being so low here, like he was projected around 40th, and so we figured we could get him on the way back. Now, in hindsight, seeing all the running backs that went early in the second, we probably should have recognized that and just gone ahead and taken Achane. However, we didn't. We took the value we saw in Marv, which was fine, but it's a two wide receiver start in a league where you can only start three. Again, I would second guess that right now, knowing what I know. But anyway, then another running back went right away, and I'm going to scroll down here to the third and fourth rounds for you guys. Here we go. All right. Now we're looking at rounds 3 and 4. So Achane then went at the 2-3 turn. So the guy who had McCaffrey got Nico and Achane at the turn. Very nice start for him. Then Josh Jacobs. So as you can see, the running backs are just flying. And so it was on our pick there at the 303. And we had a choice. We could go we could reach for running back because, as I said, these running backs were flying high and just more than I could swallow. I mean, Joe Mixon went right after our pick. And so what we ended up doing, we didn't need wide receiver because we already had two. I mean, we could have gone a third, but that would be silly considering all the talent at wide receiver in rounds like 4 through 7. So we decided to go for the positional advantage in Josh Allen. Now, last year, our team, we were picking later in the third, and we got Jalen Hurts. And so we liked having a solid elite quarterback, which of course we get with Josh Allen. And so then the rest of our draft was based off of that start. So we started 2 wideouts and a quarterback, an elite quarterback. So then, as you can see, the rest of the 3rd round went Mixon, then Hurts. Our hopes was that it would start a quarterback run, which it sort of did. Hurts, then Pittman, Kamara, Olave, then Mahomes, then Debo, Kelsey, and then DJ Moore. So only 1 tight end through round 3. There was also Kamara going in this round. Mixon going in this round. So a couple of funny, odd picks, I guess you'd say, with that. But again, the running backs were flying off the board heavy early. So then we move on to round 4 there. You can see Laporta, DK, Rashad White, Aaron Jones in the 4th, ahead of Kenny Walker, Lamar, Brandon Ayuk, Devontae Smith, and Cooper Kupp. Now, I'd have loved Kupp to fall to us, but he didn't. However, Malik Neighbors was still sitting there on the board. And here we are, no running backs. It's round 4. And we're just like, we have to take this value on Malik Neighbors. And that's what we did. No regrets with that at all. Now, we do have 2 rookie wideouts in Marv and Neighbors, but when you sandwich them around an elite quarterback like Josh Allen, I'll take that bet all day. So then we move on to rounds 5 and 6. And so rounds 5 and 6, I'll bring up right here. There we go. Now, so we got Malik Neighbors. The guy on the turn got CJ Stroud. Then Mark Andrews went, and that was perfect for us because we were hoping to get Dalton Kincaid the whole time to stack up with our Josh Allen. So it worked out pretty well for us. Again, we don't have any running backs yet, but we're going to do based off the first 3 picks, we're looking at the 0 RB build right now. I didn't want to jump on, say, James Conner as our hero running back here in round 5, when, like, is James Conner really strong enough to be a hero running back? Ideally, you want your hero running back, if you're going to do that, to have the potential to have like a 20-plus point per game season. All right, so Achane fit that mold, and again, in hindsight, it's easy to say I wish we would have gone him in the 2nd round, but we didn't. And so we'll live with it, and we'll play this build. So 1 second. Okay. Now, after the 5th round, picks went Waddle, Connor, McBride, Diggs, Dell, Swift, A-Rich went there at the 5'10". Nice pick. 5'11", Amari Cooper, and then Rashee Rice. Now, Rashee Rice was somebody we contemplated going when we took Kincaid, but the stack there pushed us over the edge to take Kincaid over Ray Rice. Now we move on to the 6th round, and you've got McLaurin, Dak, Kittle, Montgomery, Ingram, Zamir White, Ramondre, George Pickens, then Kyler. And then we are sitting here round 6 with the potential to grab our 4th wideout. Again, we're looking 0 RB. So we want to have that wide receiver through the flex +1. But we didn't love the value at wide receiver right now because we saw plenty of value in rounds 7, 8, 9, and 10 for a wide receiver. Not much difference varied there. So had somebody like Rashee Rice fell to here, then we would have, taken him. But somebody jumped on him, grabbed him at a more realistic value as to where he's going now in the bigger money drafts. And so can't blame the guy for taking Rashee Rice where he did. But regardless, we decided to pivot to running back, and we took one of the solid ones we like, and that's Najee Harris. Then Javonte went, Kyle Pitts went. Then let's slide it down for you guys here, round 7 and 8. Okay, so when you bring up round 7, it went Tajay Spears, then Jordan Love, and then it was back to us. And again, being slim at running back, doing the 0 RB build, Raheem Mostert was sitting there, and he's the perfect type of back you want for a 0 RB build. One that's starting, good offense, and can give you top 10 production weekly. So again, I'm not expecting Raheem to score 18 touchdowns on the ground again this season, but if he gets just 8 to 10 touchdowns, he can put up enough points for us to make this build work. So after Mostert, then it went Pollard, Singletary, Joe Burrow, and Njoku. T. Higgins falling to round 7 is insane. Like, looking back, probably something we missed there. But we'll deal with it. We'll be all right. I don't mind getting Raheem Mostert. Because you can look at it now. We could have taken Higgins there and then had Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson would have been our second running back. And instead of taking Keon Coleman down in the 9th round here, we probably would have gone a different running back. So maybe one move there we could have done differently. But again, don't mind it at all. Draft for that round finished off Godwin, Kirk, Jaylen Warren, Chase Brown. Then we go over to round 8, and we bring up Jonathan Brooks, Keenan Allen, Deontay Johnson, Jake Ferguson, Jaden Reed, Christian Watson, 2 Packer receivers back-to-back, JSN, Jets D, which we didn't mind seeing, and then Cortland Sutton. And so we were sitting there again looking at wide receiver or Brian Robinson. The choice came down to Robinson or Brian Thomas or Keon Coleman. And of course, as you can see, we took Brian Robinson, figuring that Brian Thomas or Keon Coleman would fall back to us, which it did, but just one of them, and that was Keon Coleman. Now, we also would have taken Xavier Worthy or Rome Odunze there. But we ended up with Keon Coleman, fine with that. And so you can see here, we ended up with Keon Coleman. Should we have taken one of the wide receivers instead of Brian Robinson? I don't know. I mean, we could have ended up with Ezekiel Elliott then. And so I think Brian Robinson has a little better ceiling than Zeke. Zeke can get more touchdowns, but as far as yards plus receptions go, I think Brian Robinson is a little bit ahead of Zeke. I have been pounding the door on Zeke, and as you can see here, he went in round 9, which was a little higher than most drafts. But again, this was ESPN draft, which has the running back spiked up. So you can see we took Keon Coleman, then it went Eckler, Addison, Zeke, Zach Moss, D-Hop, Browns D, love seeing that, Gus Bus, Jerome Ford, Jalen Wright in round 9, then J.K. Dobbins, Gabe Davis, Jacoby, Harrison Butker in round 10, love seeing that, Jaden Daniels, Nick Chubb, Lad McConkey, Bowers, Goddard, and then it's back to us. And so we had our 4th wideout. We wanted another good starting running back, and at least out of the gate, that's what Chuba Hubbard presents to us. So he gives us another starting option week 1. We'll just play the matchups between the 3 of them. That's Chuba, Chuba, Brian Robinson, and Najee Harris. So moving on now, before that, when I was talking about taking Chuba Hubbard, I was also mentioning that we should take either Trey Benson or Blake Corum on the backside, because then we got the best of both worlds. You get one running back for the first half of the season and the other for the second half, hopefully, with a rookie. And so we were looking at Chuba or Jerome Ford. Now, Jerome Ford had gone in round 9 at the 9-11. So we weren't able to get him, but we were able to get Chuba. And I think they present similar situations. And then a way that you can sort of stack them up is by getting a rookie or second half player, like maybe, you could go Jerome Ford and Jonathan Brooks if you're picking close together there. And Brooks is, or maybe you're going to take Jonathan Brooks first and then finish it off, stack it up with Jerome Ford on the backside. Because that way you could maximize your ceiling by having two different backfields rather than having Jonathan Brooks and Chuba Hubbard on the same team. You kind of limit your upside by doing something like that. All right. We'll move on now to rounds 11 and 12. As you can see, Josh Palmer and Darnell Mooney went there at the end of round 10. Then over to round 11, it went Josh Downs, Zach Charbonnet, and then we were able to grab Trey Benson. Now, we were heavily looking at Trey Benson and Blake Corum, so much so that it was so difficult to decide between the two. We literally just flipped a coin. And we flipped the coin and came up for Benson, grabbed him. Then I went J-Mo, Hawk, Ty Chandler, kicker, Rico Dowdle, another kicker, Tyler Algier, Caleb Williams, then Tua, T-Law, Cowboys D, Thielen, Ravens D, Steelers D, Freiermuth, Purdy, Dalton Schultz, and then it came back to us. So now I just want to mention the value that fell to us here, okay, and the importance of it, because what happened was, remember I said, round 11, we were flipping a coin literally between Benson and Corum, right? And they were back-to-back on the board. However, on ESPN's draft board, they were 19 picks apart, okay? And so, but on the running back board, they were back-to-back. Benson was 124 ADP, and Corum was all the way down at 143. So it's 19 picks in between there. And so it actually benefited us that we took Benson, because then on the board that shows up for people to draft, Corum was much further down. And what happened there was you can see the amount of kickers and defenses that went in between our picks, and that allowed Blake Corum to fall into our lap in round 12. Now, I don't take a kicker or defense until the last two rounds, and there's a reason for that, because defenses, I love playing the matchups. It's easy for me to score in the top 5 defenses when I'm just playing the matchups. You pick a bad team against a bad offense, or an offense that's maybe got their quarterback injured, so they got a backup in there. I mean, you can look out at the schedule, week 5, week 6. You don't know which offenses are going to be struggling at that point in the season. And maybe a crappy looking defense from last year, like say the Carolina Panthers, maybe they turn it on and they're actually playing well. You don't know. So point being, that's why I wait on defenses. And then kicker as well. Even kickers on good teams, sometimes they only get extra point attempts in a game. So they might only end up with 4 points, even though their team scored 28 points, right? So kicker is just so random. There's no reason for me to pick them any earlier than the last 2 rounds. All right. So you can see on the board, starting with Jake Elliott there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 picks in between our two. So 6 of the 18 picks went kicker or defense between rounds 11 and 12. That was just huge for us because it allowed Blake Corum to drop down. And I love Blake Corum and his opportunity. If you get any Kyron Williams injury, Corum's going to slide into that role. And at least for our sake, we're hoping that he just takes over the job and never lets it go. And I wouldn't doubt that that's a very good possibility to happen. Now, moving on to rounds 13 and 14, as you see, the Niners D and Jared Goff went after we took Corum. Then on to round 13, you got Taysom Hill, Hollywood. We wanted a high upside wide receiver, and so rather than going like the status quo with like Tyler Lockett or Brandon Cooks, we decided to take a stab at Mike Williams and see if he connects with Aaron Rodgers early on in the season. I think that Williams can produce as a red zone target for Rodgers early on, at least while he's healthy, because we all know Mike Williams at some point during the year will get banged up and be out for a game or two at least. But when he's in there, the Jets offense definitely should be a little better this year with a healthy Rodgers. And so then Mike Williams will have the opportunities in the red zone to get touchdowns, and I don't mind him as our wide receiver 5. Right after him, of course, went Aaron Rodgers. Then we had a kicker, Chiefs D, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Lockett, Gibson, Shakir, Brandon Cooks, Luke McCaffrey, Luke Musgrave, Greg Zuerlein, A.D. Mitchell, Watson, McLaughlin, Chig, McPherson, Shaheed, and Saints D. And so then that left Braylon Allen for us, sliding all the way to round 14. Had no problem jumping on him. He's healthy versus Marshawn Lloyd, who's banged up. Braylon Allen presents for a 0 RB build, the perfect type of pick that you want, a handcuff for a top 3 running back. So if Breece Hall were to go down, that presents a window for Braylon Allen to dominate in those weeks that Breece Hall would be out. Let's say he gets a high ankle sprain and it's 3 to 4 weeks. You've got 3 to 4 weeks of good volume for Braylon Allen on what should be a better Jets offense, more touchdown opportunities. Braylon Allen should be the goal line guy in that scenario. And so you're looking for a good handcuff late in a hero RB or 0 RB build. Braylon Allen is one of your guys. Other guys that are similar would be either Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell, whoever wins that job. I think it's Jordan Mason, honestly, right now. And the other would be Tyler Algier. Algier's ADP, though, is a little higher than Braylon Allen. So Allen is sort of a nice value in this scenario. All right. Then moving along, we get down to rounds 15 and 16 to finish things off. And we went, of course, our kicker in a dome on a good offense, Atlanta Falcons kicker Younghoe Koo, and finished it off with a good week 1 matchup in the Cincinnati Bengals defense, home against all of y'all's New England Patriots, and the question mark at quarterback, whether it will be Jacoby Brissett or the rookie Drake May. Either way, I don't mind taking the defense going up against that signal caller. So there you have it. I'll bring up the roster and show you once again what we ended up with as a whole. Here is, you can see our squad. Let me scroll up so that that bottom corner isn't in your way. There we go. All right. So there you have it. We've got CD, Marv, Allen, Neighbors, Kincaid, Najee, Mostert, B-Rob, Coleman, Chuba, Benson, Corum, Mike Williams, Braylon Allen, and then the kicker and defense. So you can see after our first 5 selections where there was no running back, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 positional players, and 7 of which were running back. And you do this in hopes that you hit on 2 of those guys. All you need is 2 of them to hit. And with your dominant wide receiver room, dominant quarterback, dominant tight end, that's how you build a super team. If we get Blake Corum and Trey Benson to both be hitting on all cylinders in the second half of this season, or it's Braylon Allen because Breece Hall is hurt, or Brian Robinson and Austin Eckler is hurt, or Raheem Mostert is just replicating what he did last season. Any of those guys hit and become a top 10 running back, that's how you build a monster. So I encourage you all to check me out. at clemke007_FF on Twitter. Throw me any question you like as well on buymeacoffee.com. You can check me out there. I'm the Birdhouse Fantasy Network. Then also check us out on Patreon. It is patreon.com/Birdhouse Dynasty Show. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Thanks for jumping in today. And we'll have more for you later this week for sure. We're hitting it up hard this week. We know you're all out there drafting. Again, don't be afraid to ask me any question you've got, whether it's a dynasty, keeper, or redraft format. I can give you my thoughts and hopefully help you come out on the winning side. And as always, don't forget, never stop working.